Hey, everybody. Hey, glad you could join us. And we have got something super special, super exciting today for you. One of the things that I have been doing ever since I started the Mounjaro journey is looking on YouTube for other people that are doing the same thing. Some people who have paved the way, so to speak, and kind of someone or people who can guide us through along on our journey that have gone before us. And one of the people that I've been following now for a few weeks is a gentleman named Chad Boney, who was kind enough, generous enough to give some of his time to join us on the stream today. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here's Chad. Chad, how are you, man?
What's going on, everybody?
It's so good to have you here, man.
It's good to be here.
It looks like a beautiful day where you're at, and warm, a little bit warmer. Is it warmed up? I know that you got some of the same cold we did here in Iowa.
It's crazy going from sub-zero temperatures up to close to 60 here in Kansas. It's
unreal.
Incredible.
Yeah. It's nice to be able to be outside, soak up some vitamin D for sure.
Oh, yeah. I got to soak it up.
That's right. Well, thank you so much, Chad, for joining us. And I appreciate you being generous with your time. And I just want to get right into it. Your channel is super, super unique. I found you for Mounjaro, obviously, but one of the cool things that I quickly found about you is that you're a believer in Christ, as am I, and you're a music guy, which is super cool. So I've been able to check out some of your music. If you wouldn't mind just giving the viewers a little bit of a background about what precipitated you starting Mounjaro, and then from there we'll get into just a little bit about what you do when you're not making YouTube videos.
Sure. So back, and I put this on several videos now too as well on my channel, but back in June, I think it just all came to a head with me, which is surprisingly because I'd been a type 2 diabetic since 2009. So almost 14 years now. I remember in February 2009, I think it was right around Valentine's Day, out of all days, where you get all the treats and candies and stuff. You find out you're a type 2 diabetic. And not that, I'm a big sweets guy. I do like sweets at times. But I remember specifically going back to that time. I was a big sweet tea drinker back in the day, and from the South, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
And I drank a whole thing of sweet tea within a day, a whole gallon, and I went and got my blood work done. And they called me back 3 days later and said, "You are a type 2 diabetic." And I was like, "Are you sure I'm a type 2 diabetic?" Back in the day, I didn't know anything about diabetes. I was young and in my mid-20s. I'll be 40 in June, so just to kind of date myself, not too old, but man, it sure does feel like every day I'm getting older. And with 3 young kids, they'll definitely make you feel that way sometimes. And but anyways, so for years trying to get my diabetes under control. I mean, my doctor had tried me on fast acting insulin throughout the years. They call it the insulin, long-term insulin, I guess I should say. Basal insulin is what I'm trying to say. Sorry, lost my train of thought for a second.
All good.
So I was on all these insulins and still could not get my blood sugars under control. I did the metformin for years. I still take metformin. It never really affected me like it does a lot of people, fortunately. I've tried the Farxiga. I've tried phentermine to try to lose weight, curb my appetite, and none of these would avail at all with my diabetes and my hunger. I always overate. I mean, even all the way to like the start of Mounjaro. I mean, I just ridiculously ate all the time, and it wasn't necessarily all the time, but when I ate, I overate. And
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, so many things that you've said already have like 100 thoughts in my brain, but I'm curious with the Mounjaro, just for my own to match it up with my own experience. How high of a dose of Mounjaro did you have to get into before you really noticed that the medicine was aiding you in changing those behaviors or patterns?
That is a great, great question. I'm glad you asked that because it's a question that I see on several different comments from people saying that they are scared because they've been on Mounjaro for X amount of time and have not seen a difference. Let me encourage you guys today. I was on Mounjaro from 2.5 and went through every one of them each month. And I didn't see really a curve of appetite and massive weight loss until about 10 milligrams. And it's crazy because you would think that, I hear stories of people getting rocked at 2.5 and 5 milligrams, and that may be true for a lot of people. But the thing of it is that everybody reacts differently to this medication. That's with any medication. Everybody's body is different. Their chemistry is different. They're going to have, different effects to it. Me personally, and going back, I was on Victoza for a long time too, at the highest dosage of 1.8. I felt like it stopped working for me. But when I got on Mounjaro, going through all the dosage, I felt like 10 to 12.5 was my sweet spot where I started losing weight. I started getting full, and there was times where I'd take it and, I wouldn't eat for a day. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. This is, and starting to, I was ordering the same food I did before, but not even able to eat half of it. So obviously I'd give it to my son, and he's like the garbage disposal for us all. A little 8-year-old kid.
Everybody needs one of those.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So about 10 to 12.5 was my sweet spot where I started seeing a big difference in weight loss. And also my A1C, I will say this disclaimer, my A1C did drop. It went lower and lower, started getting better, even with the lower dosages, so that did affect my blood sugar. But the weight loss, and it's weird because you would think that it would go hand in hand, but it didn't. The A1C dropped throughout those dosages leading up to 10 to 12.5, but the weight loss started really happening about 10 to 12.5, where people started saying, hey, you're losing weight, and I could see it, the scale tipping
That's awesome.
in the right direction. So
yeah, that's awesome. And I'm glad that you shared that part because it trues up the same for me. Now, I don't know if you've seen my videos, but for those who have not seen my videos, I moved through the doses a lot faster than you had. Some of it was scarcity and some of it was just moving through it fast.
Sure.
But I just went through 4 weeks of 10 and my doctor moved me to the 15. And I wouldn't say till the second week of the 10 did I actually feel like a serious suppression of appetite. And now I am on I'm on day 2, if you don't count the night that I took it. I'm on my second full day of 15, and it's next level. It's next level. I mean, there's just, yeah. And so I have even seen just within the last week the biggest drop that I've had in weight. But I echo what you say from another type 2 diabetic standpoint. My A1C was pretty well whipped, or my blood glucose was pretty well whipped with the 2.5. And I started noticing some of the same things that you shared because I use the Freestyle Libre sensors as well.
Right.
And what I noticed is it go up, but then it would come right back down.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of followed you where it would be up and then it kind of stay up for a while and slowly come back down like a type 2 diabetic. So I'm glad that you shared that because I've had the same experience, just albeit over a much shorter window. I'm
sure
2 months in, but the other question that I kind of had too, or the other thing I wanted to piggyback on is when you said that back when you were diagnosed type 2, you remember around Valentine's Day and you remember specifically drinking a gallon of sweet tea and then having the test.
Mm-hmm.
My diagnosis came right around Halloween, a little bit after Halloween, and I'm not a sweets guy either.
Mm-hmm.
But I had this bag of Reese's peanut butter cups that were in my car for a month that never made it into the house. And every day I would just have a couple of those.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was funny. Once I got diagnosed, I was like, maybe it's because I was eating all that candy this
Yeah.
year. But, then the year, now that you're tracking it for a year, you see, oh yeah, I'm diabetic. My body
Yes.
cannot handle large amounts of carbohydrates. So I'm glad that you shared both of those parts of your journey, because I can definitely identify with those as well. Do you mind sharing? I know you've shared this on your channel, but do you mind sharing where you started at originally with your weight? I know that you've mentioned that you've been on a couple different several different medications to help you lose the weight, but from where you started to where you're at today.
Yes, absolutely. So I started in 2008. I think it was my most highest weight that had been on or that I'd been at, and that was 300 pounds. And a lot of times I tell people, just in conversation, it's 300 pounds, and they just can't believe me, and I have to show them my pictures. 300 pounds. I remember proposing to my wife in Branson, Missouri in 2008. It was actually on Halloween, and just going back at the pictures, it's just kind of unbelievable. But the thing of it is that from October 31st to January 23rd, when I got married, I dropped like 50 pounds, and it was just unexplainable. It wasn't like I was in the gym working out. I wasn't on any diet or anything like that. I just lost weight, and it was kind of concerning. So at that point, I remember going on my honeymoon, and we were at Universal Studios in Florida, and we had the meal deal, the meal deal where you get unlimited food all day.
Sure, yeah.
Horrible for a diabetic, by the way.
And for somebody who has to ride rides all day.
Yes, yeah, right. And especially for somebody that eats all the time, at that time in my life.
Sure,
And
yeah.
so I was going and drinking a Coke every time I'd find a fountain, drink place to fill up my drink for a refill. I was eating cheeseburgers, just acting all crazy, just taking advantage of that meal deal. And of course, every 5 minutes I was rushing to the bathroom, as a diabetic, that you urinate a lot when your blood sugar is high. And started getting the really, really bad thirst in the middle of the night. And I don't know about you guys, and sorry if all those Floridians that might be on this channel, but Florida has disgusting water. It's no offense to you Floridians, but there's something different about the water. Or maybe at least in Orlando. Yeah. But I was drinking the water in the middle of the night, just like, oh my gosh, constant thirst. And then at that point, that's when I found out, coming back, that I had diabetes, because that's when I got checked. But kind of going back, and I'm chasing rabbits, I'm sorry. Going back to the main question, I started at 300, but through this last 14 years journey of just incredible high numbers with diabetes, and just horrible health, just, one thing after another, high blood sugars, high blood, cholesterol or bad cholesterol, high blood pressure, that type of stuff. I was introduced to the ketogenic diet back in the end of 2017, and started doing that, and I lost a lot of weight. And
that was the first time you had tried it?
Right. Yep. I started really researching it, started eating a lot of bacon and cutting out the carbs, and I'd lost a ton of weight doing that. But the thing of it is that that type of diet is very, very hard to sustain. Now, it's great. I mean, I've heard great things about it. I've heard bad things about it. I'm not a doctor. I can't say, and I can't be on here telling you, hey, the ketogenic diet is the best diet out there. It's healthy for you. I think it's good. I think it really helped control a lot of my diabetes. My blood sugars got better, but it didn't get good enough.
Yeah.
When you go from 10 to 8, it's good. You're going in the right direction, but I mean, it only did so much. And I lost a lot of weight and stuff. But the thing of it is that if you're not committed to that type of lifestyle of eating, I don't even want to call it a diet. I think it's more of a lifestyle. You have to change the way you eat for the rest of your life. It's so much harder to get back on that way of eating, to me. When I cut my carbs and I got off of it, it was so hard several times trying to get back on that that way of eating. I want to say fad diet, but that way of eating. And so I did that. Then I just resorted to low carbs. I thought, well, I can't do keto. I'll just try to watch my carbs, buy
Yeah.
the,
I'll take the bun off my burger, but I'll still eat the
yeah.
fat.
Well, and then I was like, I figured it out, Dave. I thought I figured it out. I thought, okay, if I buy the 0 sugar or low carb buns, I can take the buns with me
Swap
to the
them out.
restaurant, because, you try to be creative.
Yeah.
Take them to the restaurant, take the bun off, switch it out, or get the low carb tortillas. And maybe if you're on the ketogenic diet today, I might be giving you some good ideas as well. Get the the low carb tortillas, and I put them in my air fryer and make chips.
Yeah.
And then I go to a Mexican restaurant and I eat my own chips. And people
pull out your little baggie.
Huh?
Pull out your little baggie.
I did. I had a big old container, like plastic container. I just pulled it out and started eating it. It's funny because my kids would actually prefer the chips I made because they were like the fried flour chips,
Yeah.
But again, a lot of prep work and stuff like that, and you just get to the point where you kind of get burned out sometimes of that. And so I got on the Farxiga after going to an endocrinologist, a friend of mine that had recently started working with me that goes to my church. He had went to the endocrinologist for the first time in his life. In over 14 years, I'd never seen an endocrinologist. Why? I have no idea. You would think that my doctor, after 13, 14 years of not figuring out my diabetes, would say, I think it's time to send you to a specialist. But he didn't. I had to recommend going to a specialist. And so he's like, I think that's a great idea. So I go to the endocrinologist. She puts me on the Farxiga that my friend is still on, and it's doing better for him than it was before. But the problem of it is he cannot get on the Mounjaro because he's had pancreatitis before. So
shoot,
you can't do that when you're with Mounjaro. But I got on the Mounjaro, and that was the end of it. From that point on, my life has completely changed. I still have neuropathy in my feet and legs sometimes because of all the years of going untreated, but I treat that with some medication for depression, stuff like that. That's how they treat it. So other than that, my blood pressure is great, my blood cholesterol's great, my A1C's insanely great, my weight is great, and if anything, my wife tells me I'm too skinny now and needs to put more fat on.
You need something to hold on to.
I know. Yeah,
she's used to hugging. I know. Even now, my wife, she'll hug me and she'll be like, "You're smaller."
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I know we're Christians, but just aside, my wife's like, "You ain't got no more butt on you. You need to put some weight on you." So what I need to do is, I told my wife, I said, I need to get back into the gym. I used to do a lot of working out, trying to get bigger and stuff, and use my fat at the time for just to help out with that. But I think losing all this weight, I think I might be able to benefit as far as putting a little lean muscle on and trying to look a little bit bigger than I am now. I mean, I used to be a lot bigger, but she thinks she's more fat on her body than me now.
That would be a hard transition once you're used to just being bulky. Whether it's muscle or fat, we all kind of walk the same.
Yep.
But it would be a rough transition to go from being real big to real little. It just kind of your identity is wrapped up somewhat in the way that you look, your physical appearance, and for that to be dramatically changed is a big shift.
What's crazy, David, is I freeze all the time now in the cold weather. I mean, it doesn't take much. I mean, I get cold all the time. And I ran into a guy that I used to work with about, 5-6 years ago. He moved down the street from me, and I knew who he was. He looked the same, but I ran into him at the Walgreens down the street, and I said, "Hey, man, what's going on?" And he just looked at me funny, and I'm like, does this guy not know who I am? And he's like, "What's your name?" I get Chad Boney. He goes, "Oh, man, I didn't even recognize you, man." He goes,
"Where's the rest of you?"
Yeah, he's like, "You lost a lot of weight. You look completely different. You got a beard now, and you lost a lot of weight." And I get that a lot too. It's kind of funny, So
yeah, it's different. Certainly, we don't see the changes as dramatic,
right?
Because they're so slow moving, and we look at the same face in the mirror every day. But to the people that we go periods of time without seeing, that's got to be a shock.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing that part of your journey. Before I let you go, and I don't want to keep you all day, but before I let you go, I did just want to ask, can you share with the folks who are watching just a little bit about what you do outside of YouTube for work, and kind of what led you to do the work that you do?
Well, full time, I work downtown in Kansas. And I actually live in Wichita, and
Okay.
I work for an industrial sales company. I sell industrial things, and I work in an office. And what led to that is I used to work for Spirit, which is, a company that was, uh, I guess they're owned by Boeing, or they're not necessarily owned by Boeing, but they do work.
Airline company.
Yeah, it used to be Boeing, and they sold and became Spirit. So I used to work on aircraft, and then I got out of that, started working in machine shop, CNC machine shop, in a tool crib, and then that led me to sales. And I've always been into sales, stuff like that. And I just like people. I love working with people. I think it's just kind of just a side deal going off of what I do all the time. I've been doing it for years, for the last 2 decades of ministry, just dealing with people, loving on people, and trying to make a difference in people's lives. But um, one thing that I've kind of found a little niche in, I should say, is just, being able to sell things to people that they need and
Yeah.
help them out. And it's just something I love to do. But that's pretty much what I do outside. I mean, ministry is a big part of my life too. I spend a lot of time in ministry. I mean, I lead worship at 2 different churches each week,
Wow. Wow.
helping out one that I've been involved with that started in 2006. I still lead worship there on Wednesday nights, and I'm on staff at another church on Sunday mornings, and I'm the worship pastor at that church. And so I do feel like recently God has called me into pastor in a church one day. So that's one thing that I've been dealing with for a long time. And God gave me confirmation when I was in Texas at the beginning of November. God spoke to me again for the second time, same passage of scripture. And I just knew, okay, this is what you want me to do. And so
Yeah.
kind of in the waiting room
That's
now.
not something you want to ignore
Right.
when God
Yep.
starts speaking to you. That's very cool. And I appreciate you sharing that part of your story with us today. And yeah, so Chad, for those of you who do not currently follow his channel, you can follow his channel over at Chad Boney. But check out his music too. I know that he's on Spotify. On his page there too, there's some of his music as well. I'm curious, and this I don't know what will be for our whole audience, but just because I'm curious, I'm a Christian as well. We like Christian music in our house, and I can tell you that the artist that is currently on repeat on our Amazon Echoes, on our TV streaming on YouTube, is Phil Wickham.
Mm-hmm.
Who are some of your influences musically? And it doesn't have to be a Christian artist, but who are some of the folks that you kind of grew up listening to, or people that are inspirations to you musically?
That's a loaded question because I grew up, my roots is country.
Okay.
I grew up listening to country music, and so it's so true. You can take the person out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the person. It seems like I'm always having the country roots come up. But with me, I kind of went through a time, when I learned to play guitar back in, I don't know, early 2000s, probably 2001. Actually, I take that back, in the late 90s. I started doing like rock, alternative rock, went through the phase of the 90s music, grunge rock, alternative rock, got into like, really heavy metal type, emo music. I mean, it's crazy.
We're all over.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it's a good thing because, you get well-rounded, and know how to play all kinds of music, and it kind of become your own type of sound. But doing that and just, just the different types of, the rocks and the, kind of blend recently now, kind of like a Christian rock rap. I don't rap by all means. I'm not a rapper. I joke around and say, you know what, rap and Christian music, what you get when you get it together is crap.
That's right.
But I don't really say that, being honestly, because being honest, because I got a buddy. He is my church, really great rapper,
Yeah.
Christian rapper. But he asked me to sing on one of his songs, so I did. So that's why I say, kind of a Christian rock and rap type deal. But
Matchup.
I think, when I got into the Christian music's changed a lot since
Oh
the
yeah.
beginning.
Even
It
since
used to
you and I
be.
were young. I'm
Oh
37.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
almost 40. We're about the same age. So
yeah,
we probably grew up. I don't know if you grew up in a Christian home, but I did. And just
yep.
even since I was a kid, man, it's just
Oh
totally
yeah,
changed.
yep. So going back to your question, I love Phil Wickham. I think my roots in Christian music started with Mercy Me. I do know Bart Millard, the lead
Okay.
singer. Most of all the original band members of Mercy Me, as they actually, before they were discovered in '99 and 2000, around that area, they were actually going to a youth camp, and doing music. And I was able to get to know them a little bit, and before they got signed to a big label. And so Mercy Me has always kind of been a deep root in my heart from when I
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
Their music evolved a lot and changed since the 90s. I mean, you can hear their music if you Google or YouTube their early music, like Traces of Rain or The Worship Project. If you check those albums out, they're still on YouTube. You can't buy them anywhere though. They're not on Spotify anywhere. But
Huh,
that was the stuff that really got me started. So,
cool.
sorry, what was you gonna say?
Oh, I was just going to add for those who aren't Christian music fans. I think most everybody by now has heard the song "I Can Only Imagine."
Yep,
You don't have to be Christian. You probably just have to have been to a funeral or two to have heard that one.
exactly. True, true. Yep, and that was one of their main songs that got them started. Kind of going mainstream. But Jeremy Camp, starting out with them, I really got into Casting Crowns when they first came out, and Matthew West. So, I went through a time of Creed. Creed was a huge band in
Oh
my. I love the Creed
yeah. If you're a
band.
dude and you're almost 40 and you didn't grow up listening to Creed, I don't know that we could be friends.
Right, right, exactly. So but that's kind of Foo Fighters, that type of stuff back in the '90s,
Oh
and
yeah.
then just kind of mixing it in with the Christian alternative music these days, and that's kind of where I've got my sound, I guess I
Oh,
should say. I don't know.
yeah. Awesome. Yeah. One of my first concerts as a kid, as a teenager, was down in Iowa City at Carver Hawkeye Arena. I got to see the Foo Fighters and the Red Hot Chili Peppers
Oh
together.
wow,
Yeah, that was like peak for me at that
yeah,
age. Yeah,
yeah,
and I kind of went through the same evolution of the types of music that I listened to. I was probably, Nirvana and Foo Fighters, and then
yeah,
Metallica, and then
yeah,
Dave Matthews Band and Dashboard Confessional, and like so I kind of
yeah,
took the same. And now that I'm an adult, it's like typically gonna be Christian music.
yeah,
It's or I do still like to listen. My wife and I are big fans of Coldplay,
yeah.
and we've been able to see them live a couple times at Soldier Field, and those are some of our favorite memories.
Sure,
Just together, once we started having kids, you don't get away as much, but when we
right.
have, we try to catch Coldplay, which is always an
That's
awesome show.
cool.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Chad, I don't want to keep you any longer, but I really appreciate you coming on and sharing a little bit about yourself. I would love for all of you watching to go over, subscribe to Chad's channel. Chad's got great videos. He released a great video today. I'm not sure when we'll air this video, but make sure you go back and check out his video from what's today, the 29th.
Yep.
December 29th. He released that this morning. He also released a cool video just maybe a week or two ago where he kind of went through his entire weight loss transformation with pictures and everything. And so I always appreciate when people are vulnerable enough to do that, especially with the pictures, because gosh, I'm not there where that's something that I would be comfortable with sharing. Maybe when I get down 100 pounds, then I could be like, oh, that's
Yeah,
the way I did look.
yeah,
But yeah, kudos to you just for being authentic and sharing. I know that Chad also has some other product reviews, oral minoxidil being one of them. I think there's a few other things kind of in there. The Libre sensors, I remember seeing you do a review on those. I went from the Freestyle 1 to the Freestyle 3. I love them, but I don't know if there's something wrong with my skin or my blood, but I seem to burn through those sensors. A lot of times they stop working for me, or But I do really like, the freedom that gives a diabetic from, knowing how you feel and being able to equate that with where your blood sugars are and what foods affect that. It's just having more data points to manage your diabetes with, which
Sure.
is super awesome. But I do appreciate you coming on today, Chad. We'll definitely do this again. And it's a pleasure to meet you. It's fun to kind of expand my circle of friends
Sure.
within this Mounjaro community on YouTube. And I just look forward to chatting with you again and getting a little bit deeper with you on just life and what it's journey. With that said, unless you have anything else to say, we'll say thank you and goodbye and best of luck to you, and we'll be in touch.
Sounds good. Thanks for watching, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chad. There it is. Chad Boney. What a pleasure it was to have him on the stream today. Chad is a super nice guy. This was my first time actually meeting Chad. We've had some correspondence over email, but just a super nice guy. I just appreciate folks who are just out there just trying to do the right thing. And I, like I said a little bit earlier, Chad's video today where he talked about kind of his why. What the purpose was behind working hard to get his health figured out and his kids, and wanting to be around for their weddings and wanting to see his kids reach their full potential and who God created them to be. And that certainly resonates with my why. And granted, I'm a little bit earlier on in my journey than Chad is, but I really appreciate guys like him who are paving the way for those of us who are behind. And it's just such an encouragement to just continue on and to persevere and fight the good fight. So I appreciate you watching today. We'll have more interviews to come. We've got some other interviews lined up with some other YouTubers that I'm excited to get on and get to meet and get to share with you. But we appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely like and share this video if you found it interesting, and pop on over to Chad. I got Chad's channels. We got all his internet callouts here on the bottom. You can just scroll back. They're going to be in the description as well. And with that said, I hope you have a great day, and thanks for tuning in.